here I am again, and now I have a photo of my mother, and she is about, I'd say, 3.5, 4 years old. So this will be about, you can work out my mother's age, about 1930. So here we go. This is a picture of my mum, and of course she's what could I say? She's obviously got this pram here, and the doll in the pram as well. And I wonder what they're worth. And these are looking pretty cool. These sorts of things here, these pedestals, or whatever that have got, they look pretty cool, and that sort of thing. So anyway, let's get on with the chess. So there you go. This is what I have handpicked from a number of other blitz games on chess.com, and so without further ado, we are going to get on with it. So Fritz 11 calls this English opening with e6, especially after this move. I also would deem it as a Catalan type of system setup for white. And I play c6. So this isn't a 5-minute game, this is a bullet game, 1-minute game on this here cell phone, which I've just disconnected the thing, so it doesn't matter, who cares. Knight f6. Develop, 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 develop. Develop, 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 develop. Develop, 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 develop. Now I'm developing, sort of. So here, I have the two bishops versus the bishop and knight. White's bishop is better than my white squared bishop. However, now my game gets quite good in my opinion. First of all, I've got this half open F file for my rooks to operate on, and also my queen. And I've got these two pawns that can act as battering rams, as Aaron Nimzowitsch states. So these two pawns can join in. The king's safely on h8, sort of like inconspicuously on h8, but it can still get in trouble. But being that there's no black squared bishop around from white, that will aid my safety net if it comes down to it. So I can just pile up and throw my bishop out here, maybe, or something to that effect. So it is white's move, of course, so I still haven't moved this bishop, so I haven't quite developed. So what I'm saying is that I actually plan, like I've said in previous sessions, I actually plan in 1-minute chess sometimes. And that does ultimately lose me some games, of course, because it just takes too long sometimes. But I think it's very important to still have some form of plan and bullet. And of course I can also go here and do the envelope attack with rook f6 to rook h6, which is what Nimzowitsch calls it, a rook f6 to h6. Not specifically just this setup here, but anytime the rook is leaving a half open file, because otherwise a rook can't get out, can it? If all the pawns are on the still on the board, the rook can't get out very easily, although it can if I play f5, and then I can go rook f6, and then I can get it out to this ability to be able to float around on the third rank for black or similar. So anyway, moving ahead. So white now plays e3. So that invites this move very simply, bishop g4. I mean, everyone would play that move, and rook d2. Maybe knight e2, but I'd probably still play what I play. So rook d2, so that if knight e2, then it's obviously pinned, isn't it? The knight on e2, and with the rook on d1 being taken if the knight moves away afterwards. So here comes rook f6 as promised. Now I'm not really looking at white, what they're doing on the queen side to much extent, because first of all I'm wanting to do what I've said prior, which is swap the white squared bishop off for my white squared bishop or rook, and then hammer the pawns down like h5 and g5. Maybe g5 will just stay there, maybe it won't. So here comes rook a f8. Very simple moves to find for black. It does not take what they used to say a rocket scientist to be able to find these moves. So here's rook f1, and we could say the same for white. So I play h5, and now I don't even care if I play h4 and white takes, because that will be very damaging to white's kingside attack, kingside defenses. If it was my move and I was able to play here h4, it would not worry me gh4, as well as I would just play rook h6, and then I would be able to play queen h4 or similar, and it's very dangerous for white's king on the king side, which if white's got a plan, they could try to think of how to get out of all this sort of thing. So knight e2, and I thought, well, I'm not going to want that knight on f4 Platz, as the Dutch would say. And by the way, my mother is from Den Haag, which is The Hague, which is the judicial centre of the earth. Here is g5. So obviously now the knight cannot, which is the word Judge Winder just despises the word obviously, but here is knight f4 just not going to be possible because of gf4, although it might actually defend. So h3, and do I take the knight? Do I move my bishop to f5, or do I take the pawn, or do I move it back here or back here or back here? Maybe it looks quite good here defending this pawn, because this can get a little bit of a problem later on. No, I do not. I play my bishop into f3. Now, as previously mentioned, I want to swap this bishop off. And white has to be careful of, if I do swap off, then playing h4, and then I'm threatening pawn takes pawn, and if knight takes pawn, that will not do, because I will just go bishop takes pawn, and I mean bishop takes knight, and then the king has to recapture, doesn't it? Because the pawn can't, because the rook takes rook. If you can see that little wee position in your head, it's very, very good for you, especially if you're trying to grasp this game. So here's king h2. Now I'm thinking, well, okay, this is looking like this pawn here is not able to move, it's pinned. So it's a target, it now becomes a target. So I could probably just about play this. In fact, I can. And I can play this. I will just show you. Now after rook e2, okay, what move can I play that's a wee bit cheeky, but it wins something like a pawn? So what move can I play? It might not be completely great, but it's still quite good. And so if you want to think about this position, what could white be met with? Turn your device off or pause or something to that effect. Because I'm now going to show you what I can play here, even though there is some analysis. Okay, so it involves this bishop taking something. And there are two red arrows to the A3 square, which is here, and the G3 square, which is here. And so in this case, I would actually take this. And if the king takes, which is probably the way white would play, is that this way I can just play rook f1, and then bishop f1 should probably be the next move, and rook f1, and then I've got a very nice position anyway. But if king g3, then we have queen d6. Now this is threatening checkmate. See? So the only way for white to get out of this position is to play f4, not f3, because the king's still in check. So f4 is the only way out. And then I would have this nice move, which is check, of course, still. So now the king can only go to f2. Nothing else can happen here. And then we can just, we can take either this, which wins the rook on f1 for the bishop sack on g3. So this wins the rook on f1, or we queen this pawn with the rook to the rook, take the rook, and it will be checkmate straight away, or almost. Still, king can run up here, can it? King go? I don't know. So here I would probably opt for, I thought I was going to opt for this, but I think I'd opt for this. It's just way better. So the other one's a wee bit different because the rook's still defended by the bishop on g2 and the king on e2. So here it's pretty devastating. Obviously not here. As previously mentioned, I will just probably nab that for a queen. I will probably make that a queen. So king takes pawn, and then we have rook takes here. And notice that the king g8 move to h8 is now covered, so that if my queen was on holiday somewhere, as Nimzowitsch puts it, then white would have this annoying battery of perpetual check if they so wish. So here white is clearly a rook down, so that would not do, of course. So maybe I missed that. So I played, so I did actually miss that. I think I'll like to keep that there because it will be a memory for me. Queen e6. Now we have bishop f3, and then of course, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it back. So what do I take it back with? Would you take it with the pawn? Because the knight's going to go either here or here or here. Or what would you do? Now this can get down to preference. So I played rook f3. And now I'm starting to really look at this target on g3 square. And the pawn can't move, of course. And then I can move my king up to here now, to g7. And then I've got this rook on h5, plus as well as that, to top all that off, I'm threatening rook f2 check, which just will win a pawn at least, if not something greater. So knight g1. Now, what would you play now? What would you play here now? I can actually play a number of moves, and I bet you Fritz will play one of them. Now, one of the moves that I can play here is, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you entertained? Is Rook G3. That's a possibility, because if the pawn takes back, then I just go Rook takes F1, and then this pawn here on G3 is no longer protected by this F pawn on F2. So I now have even a stronger attack against the king, especially after this move H4. Now if white plays H4, then that will not do, because then I will have GH4, and you will see that the pawn cannot be captured back on H4 by white, as the bishop prevents that move with the bishop on D6. The pawn cannot take because it's leaving white in check, so that would be an illegal move. So here we've got this position. So what did I opt to play now? Okay, so good on you if you found it, but I'm not saying it's the best move. In fact, I might even try Fritz. I don't know. I can't, because I've just put some in. I'll try it. We'll just be a bit of a daredevil. Okay, you ready? Set. What's black's best move? It might be the one I played. Oh, Fritz played my move. The one I decided that was possible as well. So here I played the evolutionary type attack of H4. This intrigued me more. And now what's white going to do? White's going to pick up the rook on F3 and then look after what they're going to do next. So they play rook F3. Now, do I play with EF3 or play rook F3? I play this. I play HG3, because this is what they call an intermediate move, we'll just call it. Okay, so now white felt the need to do something about this. What would Fritz play now? We'll just see how Fritz goes with this position. Pawn takes pawn. Now I wonder if Fritz would do this. That's what I would do. And so anyway, that's what happened. I'll switch this engine off, and I will go now FG3 and EF3. Now what's this actually threatening? It's not really threatening much. Looks like white's going to get out here, and probably if I put Fritz on, no doubt it probably will get out of here. So rook F2. So I play G4, but of course. Now here we have white trying to batten down the hatches, or whatever, if that's the right term, by playing H4. So this just signals to me the move that I talked about before, because this pawn is pinned. It cannot go anywhere except that way. It can't go that way. Okay, so I just play Queen H6, which is, of course, everyone can see that this is threatening Queen takes pawn check, and the pawn cannot capture back because of bishop takes king if it's in certain rules of a bullet game. The other thing is that here I missed something. what did I? Oh, no, I didn't miss something. Looked like I missed something. I did. I thought I missed this move. Okay, and I probably did. The only move is this, sadly, and then I have this move, but then white can gobble the pawn on f3, can't they? And now here I am struggling to maybe just get a draw, but you might like to have a look at this position whether you think it's still okay for black or not, because I'm completely confused here. Now I might try this ping here. And here is almost there. Anyway, that's a bit of an analysis that probably is a bit nasty. I play Queen H6 because it is a 1 minute game, so we can't analyse it too much, even though I am. So here I'm threatening Queen H4 check and Queen takes G3, which would be quite nice, I think, or something like that. And then the pawn on G4 and F3 are looking very, very nice for black. So here comes King G1. So of course I just take the pawn. And now I'm threatening Queen takes pawn, H4, or even Queen E3, which I saw post this game. So here's Rook H2. So I think real quickly, what do I do? Resign? Yes, probably. I can find some things here, of course. So here I go, Bishop H2. Okay, Queen H2. Now what would you play? And I'm not saying it's the best move because I played it. So I'm not saying it's the best move on the planet, but it certainly worked in this game. I played G3. Now what is so good about that? I hear you say, well, if the queen takes the pawn, pardon me, if the queen now takes the pawn, then I can just merely play Rook G8. So I'm just wondering what Fritz would say now. So here's Queen G3. That's what Fritz reckons, and Rook G8. Queen G8, and that's exactly what happened. So I think it did. Turn the engine off, and I think that's how the game ended. It didn't really end too much different. King F2, so I went Rook G3, and obviously white wants to capture this pawn, the rook on G3, so King G3, Queen G6, and here my opponent probably got rather frazzled from all this, played King H3. So I will leave that with you. You can certainly see the checkmate here. And so here is easy checkmate to find in one move for black. Okay, so that's the end of the session. So all the best with your chess, no matter what your level, and I hope I can help someone out there.